Hi, it's 975 and welcome to Elite Dangerous on the Xbox One. And today I've got a video for you where I just go over some of the stuff that's being said about me and present some evidence again, because people are claiming that I'm lying or that I'm not being truthful or that I'm pushing a false narrative or something along those lines. I think there are a lot of people trying to discredit what I've said about IED in game, which is kind of interesting because, trying to discredit and lie about me is kind of disingenuous of those people. I am keeping my criticism of IED's in-game behaviour as an in-game thing. I joined this war for two reasons only. One was IED's stance on attacking AX ships and unarmed ships. I was unhappy with Ball of War's statement, that if you didn't like it, go to solo, you don't get a day off, yada yada, that it's preemptive self-defense. And the second reason was his mislabeling of Vaz as a criminal, which I've discussed on many occasions, and most of IED agree with me that Vaz is not a in-game criminal. He attacks them, he fights them, he wants to be KOS with them, but he's a fun dude that likes the PvP. He's not in any way, shape or form a ganker. He doesn't even run an interdictor on 90% of his ships because he wants the armor. He doesn't rip people out of supercruise to murder them. He challenges people to 1v1s and then says, alright, interdict me, and we go. He's, a PvP guy. He's like a wandering samurai who's just looking to test his skill. Vaz is a great dude, and mislabeling him a criminal, I personally didn't like that. I've been friends with Vaz in game for a while, and I would leap to his defense. I think me and Nightfall Salt both said that, if you insult Vaz, we'd travel across the galaxy to burn your house down. In game, not in real life, obviously. So they were the two reasons I came to war. In my video, the one why are people picking on IED, I did make reference to a few things. I said that they use a bot to search for their kill on sight list, because their kill on sight list is a bit long and unwieldy. They haven't so far challenged that as a statement. I think that's accepted as being a fact, even though that's one of the claims that I've never had proof for. I criticise their rules of engagement, because if their rules of engagement include attacking unarmed and AX ships and they still want to claim to be the good guys, I feel that's a fair criticism. And I criticise some of their rules of engagement, as in use of Primo, crimes, Healy beams. I don't mind them doing these things. I have no objection to them doing them, but my point has always been, if you use them, what's the issue with me saying you use them? Why are you getting upset with me pointing out that you use stuff that you actually do use? And you have all commented on the use of. Because with me, I've always kept a reasonable level of chat with IED over things. If I have an issue about something, I normally would message Ragna and have a chat, or I'd message Mr. War, or I'd message one of the others and have a little chat about it. I've always been quite open. I'm currently waiting for Edouard to get back to me. We had a conversation and he said he'd want to have a talk, and I'm waiting for him to initiate that conversation. I've been waiting a while, but unfortunately I feel I do need to cover some points, because this statement appeared on Discord and it was sent to me, saying how bullying, Primo, crimes, healers, etc. is one person's opinion which they are trying to convert into fact. Okay. So it's just my opinion that you use crimes, Primo and Heelys. And as far as bullying goes, that was the thing I said that you were bullying, was the fact that you use your BGS as a stick to beat smaller groups with. You're a group with 260 odd members, and most of the groups that you beat down with the BGS threat are usually around the 50 or 60 mark. So you're usually somewhere around 4 to 5 times larger than the groups that you're oppressing with your threats of BGS attack. Now, as to the Primo crimes and Heelys, I do appreciate the dude defense. It's just your opinion, man. And I said that when I posted it in my community thread. I did also say that I'd have checkmate in about 5 moves. The irony is that taking on these points is just going to make you look bad, Mr. War, and I don't know why you would keep banging on about stuff that you admitted you've done and you've even commented about doing. You yourself have commented on the use of Primo and crimes on my YouTube, and the use of Healy beams on my YouTube. So saying that it's not a fact and that I'm the only person who has that opinion is utterly, utterly disingenuous of you, and ridiculously so, as these statements that I will wheel out again show. It is quite ridiculous, and also they're not even like any of the reasons why I'm involved in this war. Like I say, the only two reasons are quite simply somebody made an editing error on a video, and instead of like just popping in the description, hi, sorry, no, that guy's not a criminal, he's a PvPer that we fight against, which would have been a really simple fix. Instead, Mr. War decided or elected to double down on his statement, posting this reply saying it's fly your own way. Vaz chose to be hostile because he shot at IED. So apparently shooting at IED and choosing to be hostile towards them in an engagement means they're free to label you as a criminal. People they label as a criminal are then free to be hunted and ganked in no matter what ship they're in, no matter what they're doing or where they are. So if Vaz is it's so crazy, trying to make out Vaz is some sort of criminal. It's just being disingenuous. It's just refusing to ever be wrong. I mean, another Mr. War statement that he recently made when he addressed the issue of bullying and use of BGS to bully or cajole people into doing what they want or not doing what they want was an interesting one to me, because it reiterated this claim of self-defense. Now, way back when I made a video when Pool of War killed me at the crashed Anaconda. He stalked my SRV and killed it, and I was in an unarmed Type 6 on a planet surface in my SRV collecting materials. Something I do on a regular basis, obviously. Now, I'm a pirate. I've never ganked anyone in this game. I've never attacked or ganked an unarmed ship in my entire playing time on Elite Dangerous. But IED are free to gank and attack me in unarmed ships. Now, in that video, if you watch it, I made a big thing about why IED attacked me before I showed that footage, because I didn't want Pool at War being criticised for attacking an SRV on a planet's surface, because I am an in-game criminal and I enjoy the roleplay side of that. I never minded being hunted by IED, even in unarmed ships. However, when they open it up and they start hunting noobs in unarmed ships, that's when I drew the line, and I was like, no, that's just wrong. They suddenly started justifying attacking noobs. I was against that. They suddenly started justifying attacking unarmed and AX ships, you know, at community goals, and I was like, that's just mean. You're no longer the good guys if you're promoting that as a sort of behaviour. And to say that you haven't, it's, you know, not bullying, it's self-defense. Really, you're self-defending against an unarmed Type 6. What threat am I to you in that ship? How is that self-defense? It's just a really crazy claim. It's just absolutely bizarre. I mean, I have plenty of footage of IED attacking me in trade ships and unarmed ships. They've been doing it for 2 years. I've never really bothered and complained about it. I don't mind being hunted as part of my daily routine. You know, I just used to just keep an eye on things. Sometimes I'd switch into offline mode and lurk if I was in a dangerous position doing something like, you know, material collecting in an SRV. You know, that it didn't bother me. I wasn't that worried about it, because I am an in-game bad guy, and I have always been honest about that. I joined the Dark Marauders a little over 2 years ago, and after about 6 months I did my first act of piracy and therefore became a credited in-game bad guy. There was some fun because IED were already attacking me before I'd even done my first act of piracy, but they were attacking me purely because I had DMS tags. So I, you know, had I known, to be honest, the amount of hassle it was going to be joining the Dark Marauders, I never would have joined. I'm glad that I did, because they were the most fun faction I've ever played for, and it was 2 years of really good fun. The irony was I'd left XO, which I really loved XO, and I was proud of being an original day one XO member. But the reason I left XO was I started getting killed too often in ships. I even made a video when I left XO called Leaving XO, where I actually say, you know, I'm going independent because I don't like this all getting attacked just because I have these tags. It's going to be much easier to be independent than I'm just being attacked by people who want to attack me. And had I known, signing up to play for the DMPS came with constantly being hunted day in, day out by 260 player strong faction, I probably wouldn't have joined DMPS, would I? and not considering I left XO because I was being attacked by a few random people that had issues with XO. Certainly XO weren't hunted to the extent that DMS are. And obviously when you're in XO you can call upon a lot of help. So I wouldn't have joined DMPS if I knew, like, down the line that I was going to be constantly hunted. However, after being in DMPS for a while and enjoying it so much, I kind of learned to live with it. It was part of the roleplay fun of being a roleplay pirate, that you had to deal with the side of the police coming after you. So look back at that video where I show Mr. War killing me on a planet's surface, and you will notice, it's called, like, Why Do IED Hunt Me or something. I'll link it in the description down below. I'll link some of these videos in the description down below. But I make a big show of saying I'm an in-game criminal because I didn't want Mr. War to get any criticism for hunting an SRV and an unarmed ship on a planet's surface. Does Mr. War pull out of the engagement when he realises he's up against a Type 6 in his Corvette? No, because in his mind that's preemptive self-defense. I can't even say that with a straight face. He's attacking my unarmed Type 6 because in his mind I could be making money or getting materials to get a pirate ship together to attack and gank and murder noobs and pirate people. Me, the pirate who ran a compensation scheme if I accidentally killed people, and who has never, ever deliberately attacked an unarmed ship or an AX ship or ganked anyone in an unarmed ship. I think I fired on an unarmed ship once, and that was Flipper Gold in a travel taxi conda at Shinny. And even then, Flipper will tell you it was like a real half-hearted attempt, and we just GG'd about it, and he got in his combat ship and then chased me away. I'm not that sort of player. I'm not. So, you can continue to throw mud and sling mud at me and make claims that you suddenly now don't use crimes, Heelys and stuff, but it's just making you guys look disingenuous. As a player faction, it's kind of reflecting badly. Now, the irony is that 90%, or even 95, or even 98% of IED members have no interest in killing unarmed ships, newbies, or AX ships. There's like a hardcore group that like to do that sort of activity, and they're given the leniency to do so. And the majority of the IED members, I remember I commented about IED murdering miners once on a video, and let me just find that snippet. There we go. This is from a Paul at War video about them defending miners at Boran, or maybe the triple hotspot. I can't remember if it was Boran or the triple hotspot. And I was actually after Boran. It was the new triple hotspot, because I made this comment because they'd hunted down and murdered a couple of our newbies in mining ships, and I'd been attacked like 4 or 5 times in mining ships by IED trying to get to the ring. And they'd made a big show of like they were defending miners, but they were defending miners as long as they weren't bad guys or in ships that they felt like they should attack, or in player groups that they felt like they attacked. And they attacked a couple of the PvE guys for Dark Marauders who have never committed a criminal act in game, unless you include PvE piracy. And as you can see, most of the IED people are commenting like, I don't do that, I don't attack mining ships, it's not my sort of bag, I don't do it. And they were quite clearly distancing themselves. I even get called a moron for even saying that they would attack a mining ship. However, the hardcore groupage of IED members that do engage in that sort of activity were ganking and murdering people in mining ships, because they had the wrong tags, or they felt they were a bad guy or a criminal. They attacked some of the Dark Marauder newbies, they attacked some of the Dark Marauder PvE guys who've never done an in-game crime in their life, purely because they had DMPS tags. They were attacking other people in mining ships. I got footage from a couple of people in Pythons that were attacked by certain IED members. Now, again, I have no issue with IED trying to kill me in a mining ship. My mining ships are made tough for that reason, because I'm used to being attacked and hunted and murdered by IED. IED murder me and try and hunt me in any ship I'm in any day of the week, because the day ends in Y. There is no reason for it. There's no call for it. I did find it funny when the bounties were put on IED by 7th Legion. There were a lot of IED members getting upset about being attacked in ASP Explorers, or one guy was killed in an ASP Explorer and then later he was killed on a planet surface in an SRV. It's like, that was during a war. A war in which you started by attacking AX ships as a group, and you're moaning about someone killing you on a planet surface. Your leader hunted me down and killed me on a planet surface because the day ended in Y, and I made a video joking about it in which I encouraged people to subscribe to his YouTube channel and join IED. So I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for you that happening to you in a war. When that happened to me in, just on a random day because it ended in Y. And as Paul said, he just saw me close by and thought, oh, there's a valid target, I'll go and kill it. He didn't know what ship I'm in or what I'm doing. He knows I'm not going to be there killing people at the site, because it's just not sort of behaviour that I do. I'm not Grumpy Skeletor. But that's, but he turned up, he killed my SRV, and then continue to push the attack or try and interdict a unarmed Type 6 in a Corvette, and that comes under the banner of preemptive self-defense, as we well know, because you really got to defend yourself against those unarmed Type 6s when you're in a Corvette all day. Like I say, it is funny, but I know the majority of you within IED is they don't like attacking unarmed ships. Mayroon's a PvPer who likes fighting challenging ships. Paul himself is a PvPer who likes fighting challenging ships and corvettes. They're usually very honourable PvP guys. Oddly, the only video I've made ever complaining about IED running crimes is not IED running crimes, but it was one member of theirs using crimes to disrupt other people's 1v1s or wing fights at Shinny. I have no issue with them using crimes. They've always used crimes. Garrax has nearly caught me out at Shinny by being unmoving in the no-fire zone in a courier, knowing that I cannot resist. And the amount of times that I've shot at an IED member in the no-fire zone at Shinny and had to run for my life, I've lost count. But I don't even make videos about it normally, unless I think it's funny. I mean, the last time I can think of making a video about it was when Garrax did it, and I made the video, and the point of the video was the lag in Shinny, nothing to do with Garrax running crimes. It was just a really funny moment. I shoot Garrax and have to leg it. And we'd all lagged out of party chat, and Ghost comes back in a party. No, I think it was Modern comes back in a party going, "Don't shoot him, he's got crimes on," which is just really funny. So here's Garrax's statement, saying, if you don't like it, sod off their rules. They use crimes and Healy beams. I think that's fairly clear on the subject. Don't like crimes, bro beams, etc. Sod off. Clearly stating that they use crimes and bro beams, or at least that's how I'm reading it. You may be reading it differently. I don't know. Here's Paul of War confirming that they shoot at any criminal ship regardless. And I, start confirming about that. We'll have to shoot IED the same. And I asked Paul if he was happy with Garrax's statement, and he didn't answer. Because Garrax's statement, the one I've just shown you, was in that video that Paul commented on. Then I'm going to have Ragna Scott statement about his use of Primo. This came about because I asked him. Someone said to me that he was using Primo and running around in a Primo wing. So I directly asked him, because that's what I do with Paul or Ragnar, is I just send him a question. And he was fine to say that he doesn't use Primo unless it's for specific situations, so like home defense, facing toxicity, and when he's outnumbered. And like they've always said, they use crimes and Primo in their home systems when they're defending their home systems, to put people off of fighting them in their home systems. So I have never seen the issue with me saying they're using crimes, Primo and Healy beams when there's several members of their senior staff saying that they do. If I was making stuff up, if I was trying to present lies as facts, I would see what Paul is on about in his original statement on Discord. But I'm not. I'm just commenting on stuff that you guys have confirmed to me in writing and in comments on my YouTube and over Xbox and on Discord that you actually do. Ragnar recently told me the last time he used Primo was in a 1v1 with Brother Loon. I'm not going to moan at him for that. you know, if he uses Primo when he fights Unforgiven Saint, I'm gonna say that's pretty justified, considering I know, you know, Saint is one of those people that uses Primo. And Saint doesn't have an issue with me saying he's used Primo, because he uses Primo and he says he does. You know, here's Pat from IED. This one I'll say pause and read if you want to read it, but basically he starts with, hi, this is the Bro Beam guy. That was after a specific fight in which we were 7v3 against IED. There was 3 of us, 7 of them, and we nearly got a Cutter's shields down, and Pat heals it. Which I did make a video about, and I was annoyed about, because it's like, you can't say you use Bro Beams when people outnumber you, and then whip them out when you're 7v3. I mean, we were 3 medium ships at 3 in the morning. IED members had asked me specifically to stay on and have more pews, and then we gauge in another fight, and that happens. We spent like a half an hour, 45 minutes trying to instance with them, and then we get in a fight, and we're outnumbered 7v3, and they're using Bro Beams. I don't mind being outnumbered, that's just fun. But the fact that they would use Bro Beams in a fight where they're already got like more cutters than we've got ships, and then they're using Bro Beams, it was kind of like, why have I just wasted 45 minutes of my life trying to re-instance with you guys to have this fight? Me and Garrax have been messaging each other trying to get in the same instance so we could actually have a fight. And then for that to happen, it was kind of, I admit, it annoyed me. It was one of those times that I was like, that's low, that's not something I appreciate. Use of Bro Beams when you heavily outnumber an opponent. So I did make a video about that, but on the whole, you know, if you want to use Bro Beams, go ahead, use Bro Beams. That's one of the reasons why I, you know, DMPS switched to so many torpedoes and mine ships, was because, you know, IED used Healy Beam cutters. Here's a conversation between myself and Paul at War, in which he discusses Ragna's use of Primo, and the fact that he doesn't like the fact that Ragna gets torn apart for using Primo when, you know, he thinks that thermal conduit's the bigger issue. I personally still think Primo is a bigger issue than thermal conduit, though I could see thermal conduit being nerfed, and I do in part agree with him. But it's just a conversation, another, you know, proof that he's on about Ragna using Primo. So he's aware that Ragna uses Primo, and he's clearly stating. So I'm not seeing how, you know, Ragna using Primo or IED using Primo is only my opinion and something I'm trying to make fact, when you're acknowledging it yourself, Mr. War. It is ridiculous, to be honest. When you have IED's own staff and own senior management confirming stuff in writing, and then claiming it's only one person's opinion that they do these things, and not even acknowledging that, you know, I think there's more than me that think you use Crimes, Primo and Healy Beams. I really do. And as the bullying, I'm sorry, there's more than me that think what you do or what you did was bullying, and horrible. I mean, you started attacking AX ships. As a result, many members had to leave the Dark Marauders to go off to join other wings. The AX arm of the Dark Marauders just left. They had no choice. They can't be sat there fighting a Hydra worrying about Garrax dropping in behind them and obliterating them in a cutter. It's kind of ridiculous. You know, you can't expect people who only engage in AX stuff to now fly for any faction that you consider to be bad guys. And let's be honest, at this point, if you're claiming that Vaz is a criminal, you can pretty much say anyone's a bad guy. It really undermines your stance on who is and who isn't a bad guy when you think someone like Vaz, who doesn't even run an interdictor, who's never ganked or murdered anyone and only engages in really consensual PvP or jumps in on ongoing PvP for one side or the other, is a bad guy? Really? You know, I first met Vaz when he was flying against us in the war with ESR. He was flying against the Dark Marauders on a few occasions because ESR had told him it was fun pews, so he just jumped in. If Vaz thinks it's fun pews, he's going to jump in. That doesn't make him a bad guy. That just makes him someone who likes fun pews. Here's one of the most damning statements of Paul at Wars, because, you know, at the bottom, you know, he pretty much covers the fact that they used Primo, that they used Healy Beams, and you know, it's both are there. You know, he confirms the use of Haley Beams. He says that the use of Primo is not against their rules. He doesn't believe it was used in this instance, and again he's on about thermal conduit being mistaken for it, but it's kind of just more confirmation about things. A lot of these statements I didn't need to include, but you know, I just have, because they're easy to just, they're there all over the place. I've got so many on my channel from IED members confirming things, saying things. I tend to screenshot a lot of them because they tend to delete a lot of their comments when they realise it's, you know, someone said something they shouldn't have said at the moment, which is kind of funny. It's kind of sad, but he is right about one thing. I am ceasing attacking their BGS. It is pointless. Here's a list of the guys that they had helping their BGS, and it is. I'm still annoying their BGS, but I'm doing it in new and inventive, creative ways. I've got some wonderful plans coming up. I personally, you know, we've always said we wanted a PvP war and had no interest in BGS. IED went out and attacked 7th Legion's home system, which we fully, the 7th Legion fully expected, and now they've taken that over, got the Brazilian League of Pilots to attack that. There's no BGS target for IED now, so the war is back to being PvP only, which we're happy about. We're just harassing their BGS, not because we have any long-term goals with it or want to do anything. We're just doing it because it might get them back to the peace talks if we annoy their BGS squadron. That's basically it. And I'll be honest, I think Yule would say that he's been happy that I've pointed out I've stress tested a few things for him. I've shown up a couple of weaknesses which he's been able to plug, which if a more if a bigger or more effective BGS squadron had latched upon, might have actually been an issue for you guys. But your BGS foo is incredibly strong. I've said this all along. You are a BGS faction. You're certainly not a PvP faction, as the lack of PvP in this war has shown. And if let's be honest, you are a very, very strong BGS faction. So there is no point in me continually banging my head against that brick wall. So I'm going to get other people to do it because it's funnier. Now this was an interesting statement that I want to draw attention to. Now I did offer Yule, and I offer all of IED, if you want to prove that I'm hate-filled or hate-mongered, can you please provide evidence of these hate-filled messages I send people and all this abuse that I send people? Because you keep coming in my comments saying I'm a hate-filled toxic person. You even made comments that I can't go back to DMPS because I'm such a hate-filled toxic person. I fell out with so many DMPS members. If IED members are going to claim this, I'm going to say provide proof. This is to me quite a joke. This was you saying that I'd lied and I'm hateful. Why would I lie about something when everything's on my YouTube channel? I made videos talking about my Lakon only fleet while I was a DMPS member, before I'd taken part in any pirate activities. I was in the DMPS, and you can see this from my videos, a long time before I tried PvP piracy. I didn't have any interest. My reason for joining DMPS was pretty much like, well, isn't this like the ultimate 24-hour pass? I can go to the CG all the time and never have to worry about pirates again. Sweet, let's go. Had I known it would come with the IED issues, you know, I wouldn't have done it. I'm glad that I did, because DMPS was one of the most fun things I ever did. And here's Ragna with his saying that I'm allied with all the scum in the universe, and it's like, well, really? Am I allied with IED? Don't think so. And then he's saying, you know, my sole purpose is to be salty towards IED. I'll be honest, I don't feel I've been salty towards IED. I'm saying stuff that you do in game and have confirmed with me you do. If you have an issue with me saying you kill unarmed and AX ships, stop killing AX ships and unarmed ships. If you have an issue with me saying you use bro beams, primo and crimes, don't use them. But if you use them, and if you do kill those ships, expect me to be still saying it. I don't see how that's me being salty. That's just me stating stuff that's happening in game, and I'm keeping it in game. If you want to see salty, I'll show you some of the message I've got from some of your members, shall I? Now, I've saved the best till last. This is the funniest thing that has happened so far in this war. So me and about 10 members of the Dark Marauders left the Dark Marauders to join this war. About 2 days after 7th declared war on IED, I believe it was. And there was some then peace with 7th, and then they started up again. I joined along with a group of Dark Marauders, and we did do battle for the first week, and then more Dark Marauders started to join and come over. Then IED sent an emissary to DMPS. I believe it was led by Edouard, but I'm not 100% sure on that. A lot of this is conjecture. I've only got evidence for some of it, and you know, I could post more evidence, but I promised the person that said stuff that I wouldn't. Basically, there was a deal struck between DMPS and IED where members could go back to DMPS and they wouldn't be held responsible for being in the war. And IED said certain members of DMPS couldn't go back or there would be an issue. Now, the issue they're referring to is a BGS attack. That's, you know, an interesting thing. Now, immediately when I heard this and when I was told about it by Orc and Polo, I immediately decided to, you know, have a giggle and send a message to Paul at War. He was obviously not in the mood to jape about things, and was, you know, basically told me I was shit stirring and lying, and then went on to claim that, you know, the whole reason I couldn't go back was solely DMPS, and it was because of my love affair with 7th, some such message, and how I'm more hassle than I'm worth, etc, etc, etc. You know, he later went on to claim that I'd fallen out with Dark Marauders and stuff like that, which I again queried because I've never fallen out with anyone over at the Dark Marauders. Polo's version of events is very different. Now, the way it was worded to me was IED said there would be an issue if me and Stara Uno went back to DMPS. That issue, because DMPS are hunt on site already, the only move IED has is to threaten their BGS. So basically their BGS was held hostage and they were told everyone else could come back apart from me and Stara Uno. And you'll see, you know, Paul, Polo's very diplomatic and says that he doesn't think Paul was lying, he just thinks he was mistaken because he wasn't involved in the initial voting. Mayroon made comment on one of my videos, the video I did about you know, people going back to DMPS, saying he personally voted for Mality because he isn't toxic and like he's purely DMPS, and I'm very happy he did, because Mallow in the DMPS is where Mallow belongs. I love that guy, and I'll show you Mallow's ship in a second so you can see he definitely belongs in the Dark Marauders. He is a Dark Marauder. If you snap him, it says Dark Marauder like rock. Now, I do have more screenshots that I could use as examples of this agreement and this use of IED's BGS to cajole and control DMPS into doing something, but I said to the people involved that I wouldn't use it, so I'm not going to. The only other statement I'm going to throw up about this is one from Mayroon, where when he said he was involved in the voting for Mality, quickly ducked out of it when like questioned further about it, because it was just funny. I know he was involved in the voting, he knows he was involved in the voting, he knows there was a vote, and that's the point. I'm not so toxic that DMPS wouldn't let me back in. I'm not in DMPS because if I went back, IED would destroy their BGS, because IED use their BGS as a beat stick to keep other factions in line, factions a fifth of their size. That's all. Thank you very much for watching.